Welcome to the Brian and Kindra Show. I beat you. I saw you get ready to do it.
I was going to do it because I sat in the Brian chair and I was like, that's it.
Yeah, that's
I'm
it.
going to do it.
That's
Welcome
it.
to the Brian and Kindra Show. This is Kindra Brown.
Right. But hey, and then we traded spots to see, hey, does this change our
I think you're making fun of me. We'll see.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just.
I mean, I didn't say it would change our stats. I just said I'd be more comfortable. But it's fine, whatever. It'll change our stats. I mean, it could.
You could. But.
All right. So I wanted to say something. Last week, what did we talk about last week? I'm remembering. I have to close my eyes to think in the back of my head. It was about something.
Important.
For self-owners.
Real
We
estate.
talked about
Yes.
FSBOs. Okay. In that, we talked about wholesalers. But we didn't really talk about what a wholesaler was. We
Yes.
just kind of said that wholesalers can be tricky. And we talked about looking up their license numbers. And so we just wanted to kind of really fast
Yes.
hit. Excuse me. I don't know what just happened to my voice there. I think I'm sick. Just kidding. I'm not. Okay. What is a wholesaler?
So wholesalers are just like a car wholesaler or a wholesaler buy anything. Basically, they buy it to sell it. So they'll, if you have $100,000 house it's worth $100,000, they may try to buy it for 80, sell it, and they want a quick sale, but they may start at 100, 80, 98, 97, 95, 94, just sell it quick.
Sure.
Their goal is to flip it quickly. They do not want to own it
Right.
very long. So buy
but
and
number
sell.
one, they're going to buy at a decreased value in
Yes.
order to try to sell it at the increased value,
Right.
but they want to do it fast.
Right.
What's the second part of what wholesalers do and the way that we were talking about them yesterday? I meant last week. So we were talking about how a lot of times
some of them they'll
in
do a
real
contract.
estate, the wholesalers will do this contract. It might be a 90-day contract, and they have 90 days to do inspections and back out.
Right.
And they might even say back out for any reason.
Right.
At the same time that they're under contract, this wholesaler might also be trying to sell the property.
Right.
So if they can't find a buyer for the property that they're buying from you for 80 and they're looking for a buyer for 100, they might back out last minute because they couldn't get rid of it as quickly as they wanted.
Right.
So that's what we were talking about when we said wholesalers. Second, we were talking about how Oklahoma Real Estate Commission has said that now a wholesaler in Oklahoma needs to have an Oklahoma real estate license. Then I flipped off very quickly. I didn't flip off. I did not use any gestures. Very quickly, I just said, we should be looking those up just to make sure that they are registered as, or that they are licensees. And so the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission website, and you just, this is so easy to find. Like really, I just Google OREC, not the vacuum, OREC, Oklahoma Real Estate Commission. And then it will even give you a button that says licensee search. And you can click on that, type in a name, type in an area, whatever, and see who the agents are. So you can look up Brian Cook and see how many there are in Oklahoma. Try to guess which one is the right one. Is his license active?
I hope so.
Yes, it is. Okay, so anyway, just a little bit of following up with last week, because some of that does fly into today. We're going to talk today about foreclosures.
Yes.
Do you see a lot of wholesalers in foreclosures?
Not around Woodward.
But other places.
But other places. So, if you're driving around Oklahoma City or Wichita, you'll see these little campaign-looking coroplast signs that say,
we buy ugly houses.
"We buy ugly houses." Jack buys houses, which he's a buddy of mine. And so, and some of these wholesalers are legit. So I'm just going to say that I'm not saying
Right,
that it's a
right.
legit business. It comes back to some people run it for others.
Without a doubt.
So Jack, the buddy of mine who's actually from Woodward, he lives in Oklahoma City area. He's built a crazy system for all of this that he does.
Right.
And he will buy, he legitimately, you have a $100,000 house. He's like, hey, I'm interested in your house. I'm going to give you 80 and then I'm going to sell it for 100, but it might take me a while. I'm going to take all the risk. If you need out today, this is what I'm going to do. And he'll close your house in 3 to 5 days.
Okay, so that kind of wholesaler I stinking love, because if I'm in a pickle,
Yeah.
I may not care if I lose $20,000 on my house. This is so funny for me to say because right.
Yeah.
But I understand being in that position. And so somebody like that though, who comes to me and is upfront and honest and says, I need you to understand how this is going to work. Like I am going to do this here and I am going to sell it here. It's up to you, though, if you want. I mean, ultimately, that gives me all the information from a professional. In this scenario where I'm not a professional, where we're pretending like I'm just a regular consumer, I appreciate that the value of somebody being so forthright and upfront and sharing. And what's the word here I'm looking for? So
Just up front.
yes. Okay. So anyway, that's stinking awesome.
Yep.
Other ones that we have found, like the scenario that we shared last week with that sweet lady, you know who I'm talking about, right? Like she would come in from, I don't know where, Guyman maybe, or he came from Guyman and she was coming in from, I can't remember. And I can't remember names, but I remember the
I
properties.
could help you.
Anyway, her situation was not up front like that. The wholesalers that were working with her did not tell her this is what to expect. They just said, here, sign this contract. She didn't know how very much help she should have been looking at that contract and getting an attorney to help her read it. And so she thought it was the same as dealing with you, because I think she dealt with you before. And she thought, well, yeah, sure. So she signs that contract. She didn't know that if they couldn't sell it again within that 90 days, they were going to release that contract.
Right.
So she was ready, banking.
Yeah, she ordered abstracts.
Yeah, she did
abstracts
all
were done. They
these
did title
stuff.
opinions. She got stuck with all of the bills.
Which is horrible.
Yeah.
So those were the wholesalers that that one, make us sad, make us a little frustrated with that particular scenario. And then that is the reason why Oklahoma Real Estate Commission said, from now on, wholesalers got to be licensed, right?
Yep.
Not that specific. I mean, but that was happening quite a bit around Oklahoma.
Yep.
And so that's where
In
that
fact,
came from.
This is way off topic, but it's a good topic. So in Oklahoma City,
Follow up. I'm sorry. I know it's
no,
off
you're good.
topic.
So in Oklahoma City, which will lead into foreclosure stuff. So in Oklahoma City, Gary Whitcomb's brother, somebody's brother, Gary was talking to me about
Definitely your story.
Yeah, was telling me the story. And he said that this whole entire neighborhood got the exact same contract. Basically, somebody mailed an official contract to everybody in the neighborhood saying, I'm willing to buy your house for this much money, close in 90 days.
Oh.
It was a legitimate contract. I think it was a legitimate company. We looked them up. But they had an inspection clause in there that gave them, it was a 30-day inspection clause and a 60-day close.
Interesting.
So they had 30 days to inspect the property. So obviously they were making a low offer trying to buy a bunch of these houses.
Right.
So sent this out and all they had to do is sign the contract and mail it back or email it to them. And these people would immediately set up, like they said, if you sign this contract, we will be in contact with you within the next 24 hours to set up inspections within the next 5 days. We'll be closing at this location. Like it's all spelled out.
Interesting.
Which was a crazy idea when the market was going nuts and people couldn't get listings. These companies came in and said, we'll just buy everything and then we'll just put it on the market. So that's what they were doing. And I don't know how it worked. I didn't go back and research it. This guy's like, well, I'm not interested in taking that dumb price because I know where the market's going.
Right.
But somebody that's like, hey, I think I'm going to sell might have been like, hey, let's sign this contract and we're done with this deal and moved on. And so it was a cool marketing deal, but,
Sure.
it worked for the people it worked for.
Right. Okay. So we really want to talk about foreclosures. I just want to kind of touch base on a couple of those things because we ran out of time and rushed through some information we thought might be helpful. So today, pros and cons of buying foreclosed properties.
Yes.
And I'm just going to ask you
Let's do
questions.
it.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, go. All right. What are the potential advantages of buying a foreclosed property in terms of pricing and investment value?
So generally
That's like the longest question ever.
look at these other ones. It's like,
Oh my gosh.
So investment. So buying a foreclosed property, generally you think that they're going to bring less than market value. So if you buy the ones we're seeing in Woodward are bringing less than market value, but they're also in inferior condition than a market value house.
Okay. So I'm pushing back.
Okay.
I feel like then it's really not less than market value. It's still at market value considering the condition.
Right.
Like, I feel like that's one of the huge...
It's all of the unknowns that are scary.
Okay, so that's the second question I'm going to ask is what are risks that are associated with a foreclosure? But let's rewind just a minute. I think a lot of times our customers think foreclosure, good deal, let's go, boom. It might be a good deal, but it might end up being a money pit.
Yeah.
Because, so with a regular transaction, with an arm's length transaction, you lived in your home, I'm buying your home, you give me a residential property condition disclosure. I would say the majority of our sellers are very open and honest, and they disclose things that they know are wrong with the property. I will always give that little caveat. What's normal to you is not normal to me.
Yep.
You might think it's normal that your air conditioner struggles to keep up in the summer, and so you have to put it at, I'm sorry, I cannot do the numbers right now. You put it at lower numbers so that it gets to a comfortable number. I think I'm probably going to have that air conditioner worked on or increase the size of the unit, right? Okay, so that's a little caveat, but I think most of our sellers have goodwill toward the buyers and say, here, this is what we know. We know that we had termites and we had it treated. We know that the roof was totaled in 2012 and we replaced it at the end of 2012. We know this, we know this, we know this. And so with the foreclosure, you don't get that. You have no idea. Half the time the utilities aren't on and haven't been on in months or even years in some cases.
Right.
That's terrifying.
Yes. And if you want horror stories, just give me a call. And we'll take a day trip to,
Next Halloween, let's
Florida
take a trip.
and back, because that's how long it's going to take me to tell you all these horror stories. We have plenty.
Okay, let's talk about other risks, though. So there's risks in the condition of the property that you might think, this is in pretty good condition, probably minimal. Like you may not be thinking about system failures. You might just be thinking cosmetically.
Right.
Okay. But in addition to the physical and the cosmetic and potentially system risks, I think there's title risks associated with a foreclosure. Okay. So when we look at title risks, when we look at physical risks, there's different ways to help navigate that. What are your recommendations?
On any foreclosure, since there is so much paperwork and so many people involved and so many people touch that file and all over the country, and some people just looking at a screen in whatever, New York, signed the wrong line.
Right.
Under the wrong title.
Have the wrong person signing.
Could screw everything up.
Yes.
And then you've got to go back 20 years and find some guy that lives in LA now that's retired on the beach. And you accidentally get a cell phone.
Oh, been there, done that?
Hey, dude, I need this signature. He's like, how did you get my cell phone? So sometimes it gets crazy. So title insurance is a must.
Buyer's title insurance.
Yes. And make sure you have a really detailed attorney read it.
Yes. Okay, so detailed title attorneys.
Yes.
I ask these questions when somebody says, I don't know how to say this, you want a title attorney who reads a lot of abstracts.
Yes.
Like, and I don't just mean like he's quick at abstracts. I mean somebody who really is knee-deep in the abstracts and knee-deep into title opinions.
Right.
So that's tricky. I mean, every attorney should get to learn to do those and begin to be knee-deep. But like foreclosure, I don't want like the newest attorney, and I don't want who doesn't do very many title ops. I want the one who does title ops day in, day out, and is picky.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
But then I want buyer's title insurance. So if you have a loan, there's lender title insurance, but there's also a buyer policy. You want to add that buyer policy so that it's in your name, so that if you pay off your loan and you find out when you go to sell, you've got all these issues, that you have that policy for you.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Next step, physical things. How do you navigate, or I guess the word is mitigate. How do you mitigate the risks with those physical concerns of a foreclosure?
So some foreclosures, you're not allowed on the property prior to the auction.
Okay.
So it's really a sight unseen, buyer beware, good luck type auction. Like, so be ready. So the other ones are, so there's several, I guess we go backwards and say, okay, foreclosure auctions. So people can just enter foreclosure. Basically, I haven't made 5 payments. They're foreclosing on my property. I need to sell my property. It's like a regular real estate transaction.
Right.
But now there's a time preference. So we've really got to get the house sold. Now, why is it in foreclosure? Is it because you couldn't maintain the property and it's destroyed? The heater quit and you can't afford to put a heater in it, so you're just letting the house go. Like, where's that at? But now we're dealing with a human, local, generally, that knows about the house, and we're going to deal with this short sale style foreclosure.
I feel like this is best case scenario for a buyer, because then you have the most knowledge and you have somebody who's probably going to be pretty honest with you.
Right. Because they already know they're
I mean,
losing.
at this point, they have nothing to lose.
Right. It's either that or they give it to the bank.
Right.
Okay. And then second one is where a bank has taken possession of the property, and now they have, some of the banks will do a risk analysis on their own. So they will send an inspector in to check everything out, winterize it, check all the utilities, and they'll have a report that says, we pressurize the water lines, we check the electrical, we check the heat and air, all this works. So they give their form of a disclosure, but it's still a buyer beware, because now it's been taken a year after they did the inspection.
Right.
Because some of these foreclosures take years. So, so that's that kind of foreclosure. And then you get the ones like auction.com, where they're do not get on the property, there's somebody still in the house and they hate the world, or it's rented, don't talk to the tenants, we're selling it online. You have no idea what's inside that house.
Right.
You have no idea. There could be 3 foot of cat, dog, donkey, horse, miniature, iguana,
Have you
debris.
seen this too?
Yes.
Yes.
Story number 8 of 437 million. And so, but you have no idea, because you know the people, and you're like, oh, I know them. They're good people.
Right.
And then, well, I've never seen the house yet, but they seem clean. And then you get the house and, oh my gosh,
Was
3
there a
foot of
horse living
trash.
in there? Yes, there was.
There was a horse. Look at that. So, so that's like the third one. So I think it's really the main 3 categories, I would say.
I think so too.
From low risk to high risk.
Yes. And I think the other thing to just be aware of whenever you're thinking about risks and trying to figure out how to manage all of this, a lot of times with the foreclosure or purchase, you might have the option to do inspections, but they're going to require you to turn on the utilities yourself. You have to pay to de-winterize the property, pay to turn on the utilities, pay for your inspections. And then if you're not content and you want to be released from the contract, you have to pay to re-winterize the property.
Yeah. Thousands of dollars.
It gets very expensive for the buyer. And so then a lot of buyers go, I don't want to take that much of a risk. So they take the property as is and they don't do the inspections. And that's where it gets so tricky. Do you think?
Yeah.
That's what I noticed. I don't do
or
as
they
many
just don't do
foreclosures
them.
as I used to.
Well, yeah, and there's not that many around Woodward right now. And so, yeah, there's just not that many.
Okay. Explain the foreclosure process in the terms of purchasing.
Okay, so we'll go with number 1.
Because it gets so crazy.
Okay, so number 1, somebody's losing their house and they're in foreclosure, but they still live there.
Okay, so a short sale scenario.
Right. So basically, we start negotiating with the bank. So we're getting ready to do one right now. We're working on the paperwork, and a short sale is not short. It is very lengthy time.
And
a
a
short
lot of
sale
work.
is basically saying the bank is shorting on their loan. They're going to lose money. Somebody's losing money. It's being shorted. So the first thing is we start the paperwork. We got to get authorizations to negotiate with your bank, and then your bank wants a ton of paperwork explaining that you can't make the payment as the seller. The seller can't make the payments anymore. So, I mean, they want profit loss statements, they want tax returns, they want pay stubs, they want anything you've got that
They
shows.
want a letter of explanation saying why they're in this hardship
Right.
and how come they're not being able to make their payment and why they deserve the short sale.
They want all this information.
Everything.
So step 1, we gather all this information. Step 2, submit it all to the bank. Then on a short sale, they won't do anything. They'll categorize, say the seller's qualified for a short sale. Now is the property. Well, they won't do anything until we get an offer.
Right.
So if you have a $100,000 off a house, they won't do anything until we get an offer.
Right.
They don't care. They don't care. Like, so
They're
we have a hard time
working
even
toward foreclosure.
right.
Is
So
what you're saying.
right. So we have a hard time. They won't allow us to price it.
Right.
So we have to price it at an official number that we think, as the agent, the professional realtor, that it will sell at. We don't know if the bank will take that number or not.
Exactly.
So $100,000 house, we put it on the market at 90. They owe 100. We're guessing, and we think it should sell for 90. So now here where it comes bad. Somebody comes in, makes an offer at 90, and it appraises for 120. They're probably not going to take your offer.
Right.
So there's some. It's really risky and hard, and people get hurt, and feelings get hurt, and all that junk. So, but again, we come back to we're pretty good at it, and we're going to do the best we can. So we drive for a very quick offer right off the bat.
Yes.
Like, I don't care. I call investor A, B, and C and said,
Right.
I don't care. What would you give for this house? Worst case scenario. And the numbers usually come in at half.
Yes.
50, 40, 60,000, whatever. We submit the offers. Now it triggers short sale.
Right.
Now we've got an offer. So the bank will take the highest offer. They won't let us submit any more than one. So we have to, unfortunately, pick out which is the best in offer. So we have the seller help us say, hey, which is the best offer? We make that offer. We submit it to the bank. The bank then orders an appraisal. Now we're another couple of weeks. So we were 2 weeks getting paperwork done. We get an offer 2 weeks now. Now we're 5 weeks in and we still don't have anything. So the appraiser finally comes out. We meet with the appraiser, help them get in the house, get all the comps, figure out what the house is worth. And the appraiser's a crucial piece of the transaction. They can kill or help your transaction. So they'll give you a fair market value, but it's, again, an appraisal is an opinion. So if they come in and they really feel like, well, the house is a lot nicer than I thought it was, and I think it should really sell for, $110,000, and they don't take into the effect the foreclosure piece of the market could kill your deal. But most of the time, our appraisers around here are really good. So they're going to evaluate, hey, it's a risk. Here's what the house is worth in a foreclosure situation. So they give us that number. Let's say it's 80,000. Then the bank calls back and says, hey, the price at 80,000, we're willing to take X percent, 90% of that. So we're willing to take 72,000. Now we have a number that we can work with. And sometimes they will recommend, hey, would you mind listing it at 87,000? We would like 72,000 in our pocket or whatever. So then they give us the ability to start marketing it lower than owed. We have disclosures and stuff for all the short sale paperwork that we put on the MLS, and it goes out there. So, so after that comes in, then we find a new buyer that's willing to pay the 72,000, and it's got to be, you got to have finances ready. It can't generally be a FHA, USDA financial VA loan.
Right.
We can do those; those are a little more complicated, but it needs to be a cash or conventional loan because it needs to move quickly now. Because of foreclosure minimums like 90 to 120 days, and we're now 6 to 8 weeks into this transaction, running out of time to get this short sale done. Banks would rather us short sell the property than go to foreclosure.
And it's better for the seller as well.
It's better for the seller because a short sale on your credit doesn't hurt you as bad as a foreclosure.
It's a lot less detrimental.
So you can generally repurchase a home in less than 2 years. If you go through a short sale, 7 years is a foreclosure. Okay, so all that being said, now we've got the appraisal. We find a new buyer. We get the price they need. Now we're juggling. Are there any more liens on the house? If they didn't make their house payment, did they make their car payment? Did they make their credit card payment? Are there any more mortgages? Are there any more loans hitting this house? Medical liens? Any of those hit the house can kill the deal.
Yes.
Because any judgment that hits those individuals that own the house also attached to the property in the state of Oklahoma. So now we're rushing to get this done as quick as possible. So that none of those other liens hit. If they hit, now we're negotiating with them as well. Hey, I've got $1,000 hospital bill. Okay, we call the hospital and we start negotiating with them. Hey, we're going through foreclosure. Here's the situation. They have no money. They're losing their house. We have an opportunity to sell their house, which will clear them from this debt. If they don't have to go into foreclosure, then they might not have to go to bankruptcy, which you get 0. Number one, what number would you settle for your number today? So we also now are trying to clear up the buyer's credit because I'm negotiating. I'm not just negotiating to get the house sold. I want my seller to win.
Right.
So I'm going to say, hey, if this hospital guy will take $150 to clear this $1,000 debt, I'm like, deal, send me a deal. We'll figure out how to pay it. Because I don't want any more trauma to go through this guy's life.
Exactly, because this hurts. Short sales hurt.
Right. So while I'm negotiating judgments, I'm negotiating not just to clear. It's easy to clear judgment from a house.
Right.
Hey, do you mind just releasing this from the house so we can close? That's it. They're like, yeah, we'll just leave it attached to John Doe. No, I want it gone. So I negotiate it gone first, and then worst case scenario, hey, if you'll just release it from the house, we can go ahead and close this transaction, and then eventually we can get them. Maybe they'll help them get you paid. So all that. Okay. So then after we juggle through all those judgments, then we jump into closing, which then is a little bit more tricky because now you've got title opinions. on a foreclosed property, there's all this stuff they got to double check, and then closing.
Yes.
Whew, there it is. There's the process.
It's just a little thing.
Just a
okay,
little
but we
thing.
focused heavily on a short sale situation.
Yes.
So with the foreclosure property, the process from getting it under contract and getting to closing, even that is different than just a regular arm's length transaction.
So those are different between a government-backed loan and a local-backed, a bank, like a
I want to pause you for
corporation.
1 second too. So with the short sale, you're closing with the actual seller, homeowner, like the people person.
Yes.
With the foreclosure, you are closing. The owner is now some
Bank.
type of an entity, a
Yes.
bank, or the government, as you said a minute ago. Just depending on the type of loan is where that ends up. So obviously, the negotiation process is considerably different when you're dealing with an institution versus when you're dealing with a person.
Right.
And so challenges that we see with negotiating for a purchase of a foreclosure when it's already foreclosed and with an institution. Go.
I think this sounds like show number 2.
I think it might be. Like, we really talked a lot about the short sale. I think here's what I want to say really fast. One of our agents in our office, Julia Derrick, and another agent, Kathy Brown, they do a lot of work with foreclosures, so much work with foreclosures. They're seeing more and more come through right now.
Yes.
This is my least favorite time in real estate is when we have foreclosures. They break my heart. Like, I remember when I started real estate and I did a lot of foreclosures, it was so exciting to get in there sometimes to these houses. They'd be like nasty dumps, and we would sell them cheap, and then our investors would fix them up, and then we'd resell them, and I'd be like, this is great. I remember the first house I went into that I went, oh, I forgot the people part of this. It was obviously a home. Obviously this room was a nursery, and this room had stars and stuff, like, the little stars that they put up on the ceiling. And this room was beautifully painted, and it was the cleanest foreclosure I'd ever been in, and it didn't stink. And you know what I'm talking about. And I remember, like, we left and like, it ruined my day. Like, my heart was so sad for those people that lost their home. Okay, so all of this to say, we know more foreclosures are going to be hitting the market soon.
Yep.
But if you are the guy that's like, it's going to be me, call us before it's you.
Yes.
So you heard the foreclosure process. It's a heck ton of work. But if we can help you, and if you're not so deep in yet that we can give you some tips to help make it even smoother, call us now. Call us. Call Brian. Call Brian, 580-334-2303. Like, let's help you to see if we can stop it before it gets to the foreclosure.
Yes.
I think that's the important part. So maybe today is mislabeled. Maybe today was foreclosures. Oops, we meant to talk about short sales.
Right.
Next week, we want to talk a little bit more about the foreclosure process. I think that's the important part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that I ran us out of time.
Yeah, that short sale deal is a big deal, and we can win. We can get you out. So call us, 580-334-2303.
580-216-0090.
All right.
See you next time.